Welcome back to NYSE TV Live. Well, some of the biggest names in cybersecurity convened at the 34th annual RSA conference in San Francisco earlier this spring. And one of those companies, Cribl, underscored how it is distinguishing itself from competitors. The company's chief marketing officer, Abby Strong, and chief financial officer, Zach Johnson, joined JD Durkin with more. Let's take a look.
Well, Cribl is a company really focused on building a data engine for IT and security professionals, helping them move into the next generation of telemetry data management.
And Zach, how would you say that the core products that you offer at Cribl differ from a lot of your competitors in the market?
Some of the things that I think we could both agree on is exciting is when we engage our customers is they find that our products, have thought about them specifically, and that's IT and security professionals. Two, offer flexibility and control of their data, that telemetry data that Abby was just mentioning. And then three, we stand behind our values, which is we're a customer-first organization.
Abby, what are a lot of those pain points, those problems that your customers are coming to you with, and how do you feel that Cribl can uniquely help address a lot of those pain points?
Well, fundamentally, the reason that Cribl exists at all is that there's a tension between data growth, which is growing at a pretty much a minimum now of 28% compound annual growth rate year over year. That's an IDC statistic, and it's actually a little outdated now. We're pretty sure that when we get new updated information, it'll be significantly greater with the advent of AI. But we have yet to talk to anybody in IT and security who's told us that their budgets are growing at 28%. And so now they really need to figure out what are we going to do with our data that gives us choice, control, and flexibility over the future of the tools that we have in the environment today and the ones that they may want tomorrow.
And how would you say the data telemetry space has evolved, even over the course of just simply the last few years?
To Abby's earlier point, I can also speak to the fact that I am not giving IT and security people that level of budget either. And so that tension that tension is real. And I think when I think about how we engage our customers and how do we make sure that we think about where this market is going, it's only going to be up from here. And it's a market that's hard to define because it's a problem that I don't think everybody's familiar with. And kudos to Abby here. She's out there educating the market, the analysts as well. And once people really understand what Cribl's solving, don't be surprised that we'll be maybe someday coming to the New York Stock Exchange.
There you go. We look forward to welcoming you when we get to that point. A question for both of you here. How do you feel, or how would you diagnose the kind of broader startup landscape? And I wonder with a specific emphasis on the sorts of things that you feel CEOs should perhaps be a little bit more focused on in that landscape.
I think there's so much innovation out there right now. And I mentioned AI already, which is uncommon for us. We don't spend a lot of time focused on AI because we really want to make sure it provides value to our customers. But ultimately what we're seeing now is that folks are continuously asked to do more with less, and at the same time the threat landscape continues to increase every single year. So I'm super excited about some of the new startups that are popping up around not just what is happening in your environment right now or correlating across a lot of different things, which I think we've been trying to solve for a while, but now started to focus on things like non-human identities and the way that if you're out there with all these different tools and all these different APIs and environments, like how are you keeping an eye on that? So I think that's an area where I'd say if they wanted to focus, not only is it new and innovative, but there's also a crap ton of data, and you're going to need to talk to us when you're done.
I would advise kind of CEOs and CFOs to kind of come together around. There's a lot of kind of noise out there about, hey, I got to consolidate. If I get this one tool, it's going to solve everything for me. And I think people should really lean into the fact that the teams that are using the tools are using the best tool for that job. And what they really need to think about is how do I accelerate value to those teams and make it more efficient. And that's really where I think Cribl can play a big role for those companies and really help CEOs and CFOs get the optimization they want while keeping teams satisfactory high.
How about any of the current cybersecurity trends that both of you are currently following and tracking in the market?
There are bad actors out there, and they're becoming more sophisticated in terms of the different threats that are coming to you. And so I think the security landscape is only going to increase as much as we're increasing, the volume that, application developers can develop these tools more quickly and get them into market. I think that creates an exposure on the security front that many of these startups and mature companies are going to try and fill and protect companies from. And so I think it's an exciting time, but in some ways a scary time for folks out there on the front lines.
You said something so prescient there, and I think it's important to double down on, is that one of the most important things that we see from just a market landscape point of view is that there isn't just one place that you can put data anymore. People just cannot afford it. It doesn't matter what tool they're using. It doesn't matter what they're using it for. It's probably full. And so, or they're at the maximum of the amount of money that they want to spend on it. And so one of the things that we allow customers to do is start thinking about how they tier that data based on the value to them. Is it high value data that needs to go into some sort of detections and correlations tool? Is it lower value data that they may need, or is it maybe super low value data that they're just keeping for compliance purposes or just in case? And ultimately what we know about security data is that it very often has no value until it becomes the most valuable data in the whole enterprise. And so what we allow customers to do is put that data where it makes the most sense to them, where they can best afford it, and then when they need to access it again, we give them the ability to access it regardless of where it is in the world.
And finally, I have no doubt that the team at Cribl is cooking on a lot of exciting things that you can't quite reveal yet to people, but I'm wondering if you're both willing to give us a little bit of a view under the hood, some of the projects or initiatives that Cribl is working on here in 2025 that most excite both of you.
We crossed 200 million last year, and stay tuned. We will cross that 300 million number at some point this year as well. And so I couldn't be prouder of the team. It takes more than just the two of us. There's a bunch of people, actually over 800 goats in the herd these days, that are working together to execute on that goal. And I couldn't be happier or prouder of the team.
Especially given that we started sub 50. For me, well, one, we announced a great partnership with Palo Alto Networks today, which I'm super proud of the team. Gives yet another choice for folks to put into their environment. If they want to switch to them, we make it easier than ever for them to ingest data into XSIAM. And then a couple of the other things I mentioned earlier, we haven't spent a ton of time with AI, but there has been such massive advancement in AI in the past, I'd even call it 18 months or so, that there are some things that we're looking at where we're sitting there going, this could really add value to customers. And so being able to just invest more and more into our co-pilot to help them build pipelines and routes and interesting ways to interact with their telemetry data, we'll see more from that.
Thanks again to Cribl Chief Marketing Officer Abby Strong and CFO Zach Johnson, along with JD Durkin for that interview.